It's official, ladies and gentlemen. 343 has finally done it. They've officially made a game that is worse than Battlefield 2042 at launch. You see, Halo Infinite is probably the worst AAA game ever made. At least the worst that I've ever had the absolute pleasure of playing. It is now a year, almost, after launch, and we are still sitting and playing a fucking beta. I cannot believe that they actually came out with this and considered this to be a roadmap. In any other live service AAA game, this would just be like a small update. It is absurd that this is the only content that we are getting until the end of 2023, supposedly. We're probably going to get some other, dog shit cosmetics that don't actually do anything to the game, but they'll consider that content, right? Because that's what content is, something that has no effect on the actual gameplay experience. But I'm getting ahead of myself, okay? This is not the video where I go through every single little thing that's being changed about the game. This is the video where I rant and shit on 343. And I'm sorry for, most of the normal developers that work at 343 are probably great people. They're probably just people doing their job or trying to do their job to the best of their ability. But at the same time, they're only going to be there for 6 months. So I really can understand if they don't give a shit how it turns out. The actual higher ups at 343 should not be doing what they're doing. They should probably be looking for new jobs right now or something. Like, there's no way that a company can be this incompetent and expect anything they do to be supported. And the fact that some of it is supported, I genuinely don't believe is because the people like what they're doing. I believe it's because there's no other video game that plays like Halo. If there was another game with a gameplay loop like Halo, I don't think anyone would give a shit about Halo anymore. And I genuinely, other than maybe the lore and the art style, but we got books for that now because the games can't come out with anything good lore-wise. It feels like all this problematic management is really just due to people not understanding what Halo is and the reason that Halo was so great and why it became so big. You see, back when Halo first came out, it was not a competitive game as Mr. Sean, I think his name, whoever this new guy is that they're showing off on screen. I could not care enough to remember his name, no offense. Actually, full offense, fuck you. It's just not a competitive game. It's just not a competitive game. It was never made to be a competitive game. No video game from that time was really made to be competitive. The reason that competitive gaming took off with these games was because they were so fucking fun to play. That people just played them and played them and played them and got good as hell at the game. And then they were like, yo, we have these really good players right now. Let's take the other really good players and let's play against each other and see who wins. And people realized how entertaining that shit was to watch. They're like, yo, these people are absolutely cracked. And then it became an event, and then they started putting money into it. And it's how competitive esports and gaming has always gone. The reason now that games like Valorant and things like that can release and be competitive from the get-go is because a game like a game like Counter-Strike released previously and made that style of gameplay and that gameplay loop already established that it was fun and got people to build a competitive scene around it. The OG esport game, if you will, of Quake was not originally played by people for the intention of getting signed on a team and making fucking money. That's not what gaming has ever been about. Maybe things have changed now, and maybe the space is completely different. Maybe I'm the one who's an idiot, but I don't see many people sitting there being like, oh man, I can't wait for the competitive scene of Call of Duty and Modern Warfare 2. Like, if anything, they're just worried about the gameplay. Like, they just care about the gameplay. If the gameplay is good, it'll be fun to watch people that are good at it. It's entertaining, but I don't think that's what people are hyped about. People don't get hyped about the actual competitive scene of things being integrated into the game. Like, that's not... It's so absurd that this random dude we've never seen before tries to hop into this 30-minute video and tell us how Bungie made the game. I'm pretty sure this guy was in high school back when Bungie made those games. I'm pretty sure this guy didn't even know he was going to be a game dev back when Bungie made those games. And I'm not here to attack him. I'm kind of joking and just being very salty in a video format right now, but it is absurd. It's out of pocket, bro. This statement was out of pocket. I can't believe that he actually tried to say that Halo's DNA was competitive when about a week or two ago, literal Bungie developers said that back when Halo was first made, it was meant to be a watered down version of these more highly competitive games in order to have a fun party mode to play with friends, a fun just sandbox. It was essentially Mario Party, but in first person with guns. Like, that was the idea, was to make FPS Mario Party, and they fucking did it. That's exactly what it was. Oh man. I don't want to be sitting here and like getting mad and saying rude things to people, but like it comes to a point where it's like I feel insulted. I feel like they've insulted the Halo community, and I see so many people trying to just be like cordial about it, like, oh, you know, this is just not really what we want. Like, no, fuck you. Like, you guys are shitting on Halo. You're just sitting there and spewing hot diarrhea fluids into our faces. Like, what the fuck? It's like 20 years of people's passion and like time and love for something, and they're just like, yeah, split screen's not gonna be in the game. Pretty much the reason that Halo was a huge success originally, you know, like before Xbox Live even existed, people would sit down and play split screen. That's probably the reason that half of these old heads still play Halo, is because they have those memories and stuff. Like, it is absurd to me that they would just completely remove a thing like split screen and just expect people to be okay with it. It is absurd to me that they would just sit there and smile while they pretty much tell us that all the content isn't going to come out. They ignore the horrible desync and network issues. It's honestly at a point with those issues, the desync and these games like just randomly giving you high ping, or what is it, packet loss? You just randomly get packet loss. I genuinely don't think they can fix it. I think that's why they're just brushing it under the rug. I wouldn't be surprised if the engine they made is so dog shit, or they just are so incompetent at making video games that they genuinely cannot fix the issues that this game has. And that is an absurd thought, because their job is to make fucking video games. Like, I don't know. I'm at a loss. Like, what what are they being paid for? Like, that's the thing that gets me. If this was a studio like 1047 Games, and it was a game like Splitgate, where it's just a passion project by a group of people and it's not being funded by a company like Microsoft, this type of shit is understandable. But you have to realize, like, some of these people are making very, very large sums of money from whatever this is. Whatever this quote-unquote roadmap, which really feels like it's a roadmap to just the edge of a fucking cliff, where the Halo is going to be thrown off after being lit on a fire and seared by like fucking plasma or some shit. I just don't get it. Like, how can you give people 2 maps that were made in Forge when you have like all these great people that are working on Forge, like Duquesne, and, you know, all the awesome content creators that have, you know, signed NDAs. They've pretty much agreed not to be able to talk about the whole situation with these things in order to just make maps that don't get put out. Like, I really hope that there's some sort of announcement coming out where they're like, oh yeah, these are only the 2 maps that are being officially added with an update that's like on the roadmap. We're gonna have these other small updates just kind of surprise you with a weekly update here and a drop pod here where we give you maps. But so far the drop pods are a fucking joke. They haven't even mentioned any more drop pods. Are we getting a September drop pod? Are we getting an October drop pod? There hasn't even been like anything talked about maybe like having a Halloween event. Like, there's nothing. It's crazy to me. It's like every other video game that has a live service model, or that pretty much even non-live service games are getting content for these things, and it's not a massive fucking issue for them to just add content. Like, I don't see how we have like this. Like, I'm losing my mind here trying to even just enjoy the game, and they can't even add more content. They can't even fix the bugs. They can't do anything with the game, by the way it feels. It feels like they somehow made this engine, or quote unquote made this engine. They just reworked the previous engine again for the nth time, and they somehow broke it. They somehow internally just broke something where they can't change anything about the game. In 2022, where games are ever changing throughout their lifespan, it really feels like they can't change UI. You can't change your UI to have more than like 7 game modes. You guys advertised Big Team Battle as the like flagship, like this is a huge deal in Halo Infinite, and then didn't touch it. It's not gotten a new game mode at all. I'm still stuck queuing between Stockpile, Total Control, Slayer, and CTF. We got 1 new map and it's dog shit. Breaker is terrible. Breaker is just the map you go to sit on the top of your base and camp with a sniper, or just wait for the other sniper to spawn. Anything other than that is just driving around in a Warthog or a Ghost. There is no other like real playstyle on that map. Sure, you can play another way, but you're just going to do worse than the people every time. You're going to do worse than the people who are using the snipers on that map. It is busted. Like, there's so many things that they put out that are busted. Catalyst is just another 3-lane map that sucks ass. Like, Like, even the stuff they have put out is just bad. It's like they take forever to add content, and then the content they add is just like spoiled milk because it took so long for them to make. It just fucking, it went bad or some shit. I don't know, even, it's so hard to describe. What they've done with Halo is just like, pretty much, they took Master Chief, they killed him like in the TV show, and then they just made an effigy out of his body. I genuinely hope that, like, as much as I love the Halo lore, and I love the story behind it, you know, when I was a kid, I would nerd out and be reading the Halo books every single time that something would drop for Halo lore. Like, I genuinely love those books, and the one thing I am excited for with this roadmap is the SPI armor. Having SPI armor core from like Ghosts of Onyx and shit, and like all that gets my lore just itch. It gets the itch going. I really want to see that stuff in game. But the absurdity of how long it's going to take for us to get there, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't even see season 3. I wouldn't be surprised if so many people just fall off on this game. Like, if this November update isn't amazing and like actually like good, because from what it seems like it's not going to be, we're getting what, like a free battle pass. It's 30 tiers of shit that was just removed from the first battle pass. I genuinely think that challenge swaps and XP boosts were not originally supposed to be in the battle pass, but they probably just removed 30 things and added 30 XP boosts into challenge swaps. So that's probably what we're getting right now. If November update isn't good, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't make it to season 3, if the game gets like closed out or something. Like, I could genuinely see the player base dropping to such a small number that it's not worth it for them to keep making the game. In which case, I hate to say this, but I honestly might be a good thing. Like, it sounds terrible, but it'd be great if this slot for Halo opened up in another game with the same style of gameplay loop came out and was, a big deal. Because Splitgate is similar, but it's not. It's not the same gameplay loop as Halo. Also a great game, honestly. I love Splitgate. I'd go play Splitgate instead of Halo Infinite. But it's very similar, but it's not the same. And especially with portaling changes things up a shit ton. And not having like the regen shields in the way that health works in that game is quite different as well. I just want to rant about this fucking game because they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to make a video game, and it's just super apparent at this point. I am definitely a 343 hater now. I really was like trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I will happily announce myself a 343 hater. I don't hate the individual people, of course, nothing against them, but actually that's a lie. Fuck Bonnie Ross. I do hate Bonnie Ross in specific. She just lies out of her teeth. She needs that paycheck, apparently. She's just gonna sit there and lie to our faces while she farms money off of us. But everyone else there, like, I feel like Joe Staten has his heart in the right place. I feel like there's a lot of people that are at 343 and they want something good for Halo, but I feel like they get absolutely dumpster fucked by people like Bonnie Ross and people at Microsoft, maybe. I think there has to be more than just issues with Microsoft for the game to get this bad and reach this point, but I think they definitely have a big part in it. But either way, I'm just kind of rambling now, and I wanted to ramble and rant a little bit about Halo Infinite and this update, because too many people are being positive about this. I can't believe I see some people being positive. You in the corner, in the back row, yeah, stop being fucking positive about Halo Infinite. Everyone has to be angry all the time about this game, and obviously I'm joking, but it feels like we've lost all hope. You know how the what was it? Believe. Yeah, there is nothing to believe in with Halo Infinite. There's nothing. But anyway, that does it for me. This is gonna be a joy for me to edit. Oh man. Thank you and good luck. Have fun.
Remember, a snake cannot eat a dragon.
I'm all over the place, about to fall over my face. And even if I run with a blade, I still can't cut to the chase. At the mirror's edge, pointing fingers at my own reflection, my old projection, a fossil in my bone collection. So color me grim, color me osseous, some calcium. Hard to get along with, hard to see, hard to be pals with.